Hello, how are you all? I hope that you're doing well. Me and my boss, Real Story The Office, was unusually quiet that evening. Desks were empty, save for the flickering screens left behind by coworkers eager to clock out. I remained at mine fingers dancing across the keyboard as I fought to finish a report. Deadlines had a way of creeping up, and tonight was no exception. Still here? His voice startled me. I turned to see my boss, Mr. Donovan, standing at my desk. His tie was loosened, sleeves rolled up, a rare sight for someone always so composed. He looked tired, yet his smile felt warm. "I just have a few things left to finish," I said. "Come by my office when you're done," he added softly. "I need to go over something with you." I nodded, heart suddenly beating faster. There was something different in his tone, not cold or demanding like a typical boss's request, but something gentler. I wrapped up my work quickly and walked to his office. The door was slightly ajar, and I knocked. "Come in," he called. His office felt different that evening, quieter, softer. The desk lamp cast a warm glow, and the faint scent of his cologne lingered in the air. He leaned back in his chair, his eyes tired but kind. "Have a seat," he said, gesturing to the chair across from him. We talked about the project for a while, but I could tell something else was on his mind. His gaze kept drifting, not uncomfortable, just thoughtful. "You know," he said after a pause, "I don't say it enough, but I really appreciate your hard work. You're dedicated, and honestly, I rely on you more than I probably should." His words caught me off guard. "Oh, thank you," I stammered. He smiled, the kind that felt less like a boss and more like someone just trying to connect. "It's just I know I'm not the easiest person to work with sometimes." "You're not that bad," I teased lightly, earning a quiet chuckle from him. The conversation shifted after that. We talked about late nights at work, frustrating clients, and even our lives outside the office. He shared stories about his younger days, things I never imagined he'd reveal. "I didn't always plan to end up here," he admitted. "Life has a funny way of shifting your path." I nodded suddenly, feeling closer to him. A comfortable silence settled between us before I reached for my coffee cup, only to knock it over across my papers. "Oh no," I gasped, scrambling to contain the spill here. He said quickly, grabbing a handful of tissues. He knelt beside me, blotting the mess our hands brushed just for a second, but it lingered longer than it should have. I froze, my heart racing. "Sorry," I mumbled, pulling back. "It's okay," he said quietly. His eyes locked on mine. There was something in his gaze, something I couldn't quite place but couldn't ignore either. I left his office feeling more confused than ever, my thoughts swirling long after I stepped into the cold night air. The following days felt different. I couldn't shake the memory of that night, the way his eyes lingered, how his hand brushed against mine. I told myself it was nothing yet. I caught myself watching him more closely during meetings, noticing the small things, how he ran his fingers through his hair when stressed, or the rare smile he gave when someone cracked a joke. Then one evening, as I packed my bag to leave, his voice stopped me again. "Do you have a minute?" he asked, standing by his office door. I hesitated but nodded. Inside the room felt calmer than before. He leaned against his desk, arms crossed. "I know things have been hectic," he started, but I wanted to say, "I've noticed how much you've taken on lately. I don't know how I'd manage without you." His words caught me off guard, but before I could respond, he sighed deeply. "You ever feel like you're just going through the motions?" He asked the question surprised me. "Yeah," I said softly all the time. He smiled faintly as if relieved. "Sometimes I forget what I'm even working toward. Feels like I'm just chasing deadlines for the first time." He didn't sound like my boss, just someone tired, searching for something more. "I get that." I said, "It's hard when you're always expected to keep everything together." His gaze softened. "That's why I admire you," he said. "You make it look effortless." I laughed quietly. "I promise it's not." The conversation shifted again, this time to our lives. Beyond work, he spoke about his family, how distant he felt from them lately. and how his job often left him feeling isolated. I guess that's why I spend so much time here. He admitted it's easier to stay busy than face the quiet. I know what you mean. I said some nights I sit in my apartment and wonder if I'm doing enough or if I'm just passing time. He nodded, his expression thoughtful. It's strange, he said quietly, but I feel like you're the only person I can really talk to. His words hung in the air, heavy, yet comforting. You know, he added, I never thought someone 8 years younger would understand me better than anyone else. I smiled softly. Age doesn't always matter. His eyes held mine for a moment longer than they should have, steady, warm, and filled with something I couldn't define. I should let you go, he said, finally, his voice quieter. Now, you've had a long day. I stood, but before I reached the door, he spoke again. I'm glad we talked. He said, me too, I replied, my heart lingering long after I walked away. Days passed, yet his words stayed with me. The way he said I understood him better than anyone kept replaying in my mind. I convinced myself I was overthinking, but the way he looked at me, calm yet searching, made it impossible to ignore. One afternoon I was finishing some reports when I received a message from him. Can you stop by my office before you leave? I stared at the screen for a moment, my pulse quickening. Something felt different this time when I walked in. He was pacing near his desk, clearly unsettled. I'm sorry for pulling you away. He started, his voice quieter than usual. I need to get something off my chest. He paused, gathering his thoughts. I've been trying to ignore this for weeks now, but I can't anymore. He took a breath. I care about you more than I should, and I know this isn't ideal, the office, the age gap, but I couldn't keep pretending it wasn't there. I stood frozen, his words hitting me harder than I expected. Part of me had sensed it, but hearing him say it made it real. I don't want this to make things awkward. He added quickly, if you don't feel the same, I understand. I just couldn't keep acting like nothing's changed for a moment. I couldn't find the right words. My mind raced, the memories of late nights, quiet conversations, and that feeling I tried so hard to ignore. I don't know what to say. I admitted, you don't have to, he said softly. I just wanted to be honest with you. The room felt heavier now, yet his gaze remained steady. It's not that I don't feel something, I said carefully. I don't know if it's right. He nodded slowly. I get that. I've been telling myself the same thing. Silence lingered between us, neither of us knowing what to say next. I think I just need some time, I said finally, to figure out how I really feel. I understand, he said with a faint smile. Take all the time you need. I turned to leave, but before I reached the door, he spoke again. Whatever happens, I just want you to know that you mean a lot to me. His voice held no pressure, just sincerity. Thank you, I said quietly, unable to stop myself from smiling as I walked away. The following week felt like a blur. I kept my distance, unsure what to say or how to act. Each time I passed his office, I felt his gaze linger, yet he never called me in or pushed for an answer. The space he gave me only made things harder. I couldn't stop thinking about him one evening. Found myself walking home alone, my mind still tangled. I thought about his words. How genuine he sounded. How his feelings weren't built on impulse, but something deeper. He wasn't just my boss. He was someone who saw me, understood me, and somehow made me feel less alone. The next day, I decided to talk to him. When I reached his office, his door was closed, but light seeped from beneath it. I hesitated, then knocked. Come in, he said. He looked surprised to see me, but quickly masked it. Hey, he said softly. I've been thinking. I started, my voice unsure about what you said. His expression turned serious, but he didn't interrupt. I won't pretend I haven't felt something too. I continued, but I was scared of what it could mean or how complicated it might get. His eyes softened, hope flickering behind them. I get that, he said. I've been scared too. I don't know what this should look like. I admitted, but I know I don't want to ignore it anymore. His smile was faint but genuine. I don't want to rush anything, he said. I want to know you better outside of deadlines and meetings. I nodded, feeling a strange sense of relief. I'd like that we agreed to meet for coffee that weekend, somewhere away from the office the day arrived, and when I walked in, he was already there waiting. He smiled when he saw me, a warmth in his expression that put me at ease. Conversation came easily. He talked about his favorite books, his love for cooking, and how he once spent an entire vacation trying to teach himself guitar. I laughed more afternoon than I had in weeks when we finally left. The air felt crisp and cool. We walked side by side, his hand brushing against mine. Neither of us moved away this time. I'm glad you came, he said softly. Me too, I replied for a moment. We stood there quietly then, without overthinking. I reached for his hand, lacing my fingers through his. His grip tightened slightly, warm and steady. I don't know where this will go, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Neither do I, he said, but I'm not going anywhere. We stood there for a while longer. The city lights glowing in the distance. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was exactly where I was meant to be,